The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster, my good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Your chance to have your say by calling 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp on the same number. Email studio@manxradio.com. The new leader of the Isle of Man Green Party, well, actually, she's been leader since the back end of last year. Lamara Craine, who's also a commissioner in Ramsey, is here today. If you want to talk to the leader of the Green Party, just see what the Green Party's ambitions are. They do have elected representatives on local authorities around the Isle of Man. Lamara's one of them. But exactly what does the Green Party stand for? If you want to get in touch, by all means do. We're on till 1 today. And Faster Mike, good afternoon, Lamara Craine.
Good afternoon, Andy. How are you?
Good, terrific, thank you. And did you want to be leader of the Green Party?
Well, when I was asked the question, lots of thoughts ran through my head. Mostly just kind of, the standard self-doubt and concerns, and, it's already, quite testing to be a commissioner anyway, so taking on a leadership role is tough as well. So
Andrew Langan-Newton made the job his own, didn't he?
He really did, yeah. He was absolutely incredible. I mean, I can't sing his praises enough. He has, spearheaded the Isle of Man Green Party. He's put in so much time and effort. He does kind of all of the legal and background work. The documents, the letters that he produces are always top notch, and the Green Party wouldn't be what it is today without him. So I'm really pleased, and it's fantastic that he has decided to stay on as secretary and still work with us and still be a key part of the Green Party.
And as you say, you do have elected representatives. In Douglas, of course, it's Andrew Bentley and Falcorning, yourself in Ramsey, Andrew Jessup in Braddon. Seems to have been there forever, Andrew Jessup.
Yes, yeah, he has.
It's Leo Cousins, I think. So,
Leo has just been elected as commissioner in Patrick.
Yeah.
And we're yet to determine precisely whether he wants to be, a Green Party representative as such, as it all came kind of quite fast, really. So I guess that's something that will be dealt with.
So what are your ambitions for the Isle of Man Green Party, Lamara?
I really want to maintain precisely what we've been doing with Andrew's leadership. We've done fantastic things. We've produced a carbon budget, which shows basically how much carbon emissions the Isle of Man can produce without hitting the tipping point of 1.5 degrees C of heat increase all around the globe. So that helps us, and he's done also lots of other documents corresponding with the DOI about Crogga and the fracking, that they don't want to call it fracking, up at Mackald. So if we can maintain that'd be fantastic. And ideally, I would like to see new people join the committee. It'd be great to have some fresh blood, to have some new ideas, to have people, join on as well as volunteers that can help us pursue the goals that we want to pursue.
Let's get Crogga out of the way straight away.
Oh, no.
I'm guessing the Green Party is implacably against the Crogga project.
Yes, it is unfortunate because, we're not completely blind that a lot of the people on the island can see this as a potential kind of source of funds for the island. But the problem is it's going in the wrong direction, and all of the bodies out there have said that there shouldn't be any further drilling, there shouldn't be any further, gas and oil mines and everything else like that. So it's crazy that we're deciding to pursue this now, and it is so hit and miss. They're not even sure what's out there. They had to refund their subscription contributions that they put out a year or so ago. So really, it's just heading in the wrong direction. And what we want is investment in green energy, renewables, and self-sufficiency. We want to be in control of all of the things that impact us. The cost of living crisis is basically down to the increase of fuel prices. So if we can have our own sources of energy, then we don't need to rely so much on this terrible global economy that's been affected by the war and everything else.
Well, we'll come to wind farms shortly, on and offshore, but first of all to the lines, and let's go to Julian. You're live with Lamara Craine. Julian.
Hi, Andy, and hello, Lamara.
Hi, Julian. How are you?
Oh, fine, thanks. Yeah, at least the sun's popped out. That's a good thing.
It is a cracking view from up here, I must say.
Well, you're up north, aren't you? So you'll get more sunshine than down here.
Well, I'm in Manx radio station overlooking the bay at the moment, which is beautiful.
Yeah. Interested you mentioned about Crogga getting the gas out. A recent article in The Telegraph titled "Energy Bills Must Rise to Pay for Net Zero," says Siemens Energy boss Joe Kaiser. He goes on to say that higher energy bills are inevitable as turbine makers grapple with huge losses. He says the transformation to renewables will be painful and accuses governments of telling fairy tales to the public about cheaper energy from renewables. He also infers that ever larger wind turbines have led to huge warranty claims, causing Siemens Energy to post a loss of $4,000 million in 2023 alone. And he says if you want to have cheap energy, you need to be gas-fired. That's the cheapest way, the most secure way. If you want net zero, either put your money where your mouth is or rethink your plans for net zero. So, if the chairman of Siemens Energy says that energy bills must go up painfully to achieve net zero, don't you think that this is going to result in a lot more people having their energy supplies cut off, as we've seen recently, businesses going under because of higher energy bills, and then you've got the hidden extra cost to us all, which will be more people ending up on benefits through no fault of their own?
That's a great question. Can I take these off now? So, that's a great question, and I appreciate that. But this guy's opinion is his own, and I would love to see the data on it. I'm not entirely sure that it isn't just bias and doesn't really back up other investigations and studies that have taken place. I mean, we've looking at obviously having renewables on the island and having wind turbines down south, and there's calculations that have been made that the payback will be relatively quickly, and that it'll cover a third of our energy usage for electricity. And so I can only see positives there. Obviously, there might be there'll be costs incurred with the whole change and things like that, but you've got to invest for the future, and I don't see that this should be put onto the individuals who have to pay the bills. So, we just got to go ahead and invest in this and move forward.
Right. Well, you see, if you look at wind turbines, for example, Erie Stain, you're talking about a third of our energy need. However, if you look at Ørsted's own website with the consortium at renewableuk.com, they say that the actual onshore wind turbines across the whole of the fleet in the UK is a quarter of what's being touted for Erie Stain. And that's just electricity. That's just to charge your laptop, put your oven on, and your light. The other massive amount of heat energy is not being addressed by this. And also, as you know so well, if it's not windy, it doesn't seem to be a plan that seems realistic for the base load where you can flick a light on whenever you want. And you've also got this recent news about worldwide investors have pulled 75% of their money out of renewable energy companies. You've also got Ørsted, Equinor and Vattenfall, the three big players in wind farms, have pulled out of the three major projects in the eastern seaboard of the US, the UK and Europe, citing problems with supply chain and manufacture of concrete and steel. And by the way, you need a lot of coal to make concrete and steel. So if we get rid of fossil fuels, you're not going to be able to make the turbines anyway. But
nobody's saying that you have to get rid of fossil fuels entirely, but the whole point is that we don't want to rely on them in the Isle of Man, and that we should be self-sustainable. We should be able to produce energy, electricity here, clean, that's for everybody, and that we don't have to be at the mercy of what happens around the globe, which we have been, and that's why so many people are in trouble now. So many people can't afford their bills, and they're being cut off, and everything's not looking very happy with regards to the cost of living. And that's why there's so many increases with inflation and the cost of food. So if we can make sure that we're not a party to that, I can only see positives, and it will take investment, it will cost money, but it's already happening, so we should really embrace it and see the positives.
Final word, Julian?
Yeah, I've just questioned that. I mean, if you've got the chairman of Siemens Energy saying this, that it is going to be painful to go to net zero, I would have thought, he controls the largest wind turbine manufacturer in Hull in the UK, employing thousands of British people. If we're not going to take his word for it, who are we going to take the word for it?
Okay, all right. Thanks, Julian. That's, obviously the boss of Siemens is going to be advocating on behalf of Siemens. But just let's come to the Isle of Man, Lamara Craine. We've got a potential Ørsted offshore wind farm, and then the one that's going to be run by Manx Utilities, which is possibly Iristane in the south, which is going to be onshore. Where does the Manx Green Party sit? Any preference for either?
I wouldn't say there's preference. I think there's benefits in both, and I think that we need investment, both offshore and onshore. Ideally, it would be nice if it would be in the hands of the Isle of Man government, and I do think that energy should be publicly owned, so that would be my favourite, but I'm not born yesterday, so I know that it doesn't always work that way, and that we will have to potentially work with energy companies that will maintain the wind turbines offshore.
Now, we've talked about many times about the base load, maintaining the base load at the power station, i.e. Making sure that people can turn the microwaves on when the wind doesn't blow. So where do you think the base load should come from? Should we retain Pulrose Power Station and burn gas, or what should happen? So, I'm pretty sure that there's been lots of reports on this, and that they are going to have to overlap somewhat as we roll out the renewable investment. Basically, we would need some kind of storage, so battery systems would be perfect, and ideally it would allow to work in between when it's nice and sunny, so we can use lots of solar. And then when the wind isn't blowing, you've got that battery storage source of power. And obviously, as technology improves, then we'll be able to phase out any kind of system that uses fossil fuels. At the moment, though, the government doesn't seem to have any plan to roll out solar panels on government buildings.
Yes, that's... It's been a bone of contention, really, at Ramsey Town Commissioners, because we've wanted to install solar panels on our roof, and we wanted the support from government in order to do so. And there is funding available, but unfortunately, it's not available to local government, which is crazy, because you'd think that would be the first place to start, and to set an example, basically, to show that it works. We've also been looking at battery storage there, but we want to get the solar in place first and figure out exactly how well that's going to do, and then decide what we want to do with the battery.
Do you think local authorities should have access to the government's Green Energy Fund? So no access at the moment? Yeah, no, there's no access at the moment. They've basically said that they would help us with funding to do investigations, but we've already investigated. We've looked at what solar panels we want, and we know how much it's going to cost to install them. So, we don't need funding to do that kind of research. What we need is the funding to actually buy the solar panels and to stick them up there on the roof. Okay, Mark. Hi, Mark. You're live with Lamara Craine from the Green Party.
Yeah, hi, Lamara. Welcome to the hot debate on energy. I'm sure you do very well.
Don't know about that.
Firstly, I am pro renewables. I'm pro anaerobic digestion. I'm pro wind. I'm pro solar, but I'm also pro gas. And what's disappointing from the Green Party position in the Isle of Man is that it's an absolute position. And I was hoping that the Green Party may align themselves with other Green parties in other European countries. For example, in Finland, where Greenland has stated that gas is categorically part of the transition programme. And they refer to documents such as DNV Consultancy, who are a world-renowned expert on energy generally, who've also said that gas is going to be part of the energy change in 2050. So rather than just hope that we can rely on renewables, the gas is an important transition. And if I was the Green Party, I would actually align themselves with other Green parties in other jurisdictions and say, well, gas is part of the transition. You could take the money from the gas from the Crogga field and fund renewables. That's practical and that's common sense. And you did say before about opinion. Well, if the Green parties around the world can't get one opinion whether gas is actually part of the transition and whether you continue extracting it or not, then how can we actually validate your opinion? And also, countries in the UK has also issued another, I think, over 20 new licenses this year to extract gas. Countries in Germany and Finland and other European countries are gearing themselves up to import more gas, especially from America, especially due to the current geopolitical situation in the Middle East. And I think to be honest, it's naive of the Green Party to say no to gas. And it's disappointing. I think you've got a real opportunity to say gas is part of the transition. We can take the revenues and plough it into the Isle of Man economy to make the Isle of Man not dissimilar to Norway. And that's exactly what they've done.
I was
I'd like to get your opinion on that, please.
Yeah, so, I mean, if we were so against gas and oil, then we'd be boycotting and we'd be, stood outside Pulrose and, asking all of our members to bombard them and all of that kind of stuff. We're not. We understand that that's where our energy source comes from. And, I, for one, would like to live in a flat that's nice and warm and, be able to have a hot shower and boil the kettle. So, we're not expecting it to change overnight. But what we don't want is to invest down the wrong road, and that's what we're doing. And it's a new venture that the Isle of Man government is employing with this private business, and we're not entirely sure how much revenue is going to be generated from it anyway. So
I think that's part of it, in that the potential benefit from Crogga Gas goes up and down. And but I mean, if the government, and again there are two parts of this: is the government facilitating it, and there's Crogga, the private company. If they said, look, we've got £4 billion coming, and that's going to be ploughed straight into green projects on the Isle of Man. Just off the top of your head, just to say, we're going to electrify, we're going to put brand new trams on the tramways, and we're going to give everybody free public transport and get everybody off the roads by giving free public transport, by putting in a modern tramway system on our heritage railway lines, which we could at the moment. And that would take thousands of car journeys off the road. And if that were to be funded by Crogga as an interim solution for, say, 10 years, wouldn't that be a good idea?
It might be a good idea, but is that going to happen? Probably not. So that's the reality of it, is that there's a green fund out there at the minute. Yeah. Local government can't even get any money from that. If that promise was to come by from the government that they would set aside all of the funds generated from the Crogga revenue, then, and put that towards renewables, then the Green Party would have make a decision. We'd contact our members. We'd make a decision as a committee, and then see what our stance is. But that's not been promised. So, I mean, it's
sorry, Andy, can I comment here?
By all means, yes.
Yeah, it's not just about ploughing money. It's actually the estimated revenue at the moment is 12 billion, which the government will get 5 to 6 billion. And yes, so you're basically saying, because it's an if, and it is an if, they might drill, and if they drill and the pressure's not there, we walk away. But if it happens and the revenue actually comes into the Isle of Man, it won't just be the green energy, it'll be hospitals, it'll be schools, it'll be infrastructure. And the Green Party has a real opportunity to talk to Crogga and say, or talk to the government and say, okay, if the gas happens, and it is an if, as you say, then some of that funds will be directed towards making the Isle of Man a greener place. And just to categorically state that you mentioned fracking before, Crogga have categorically stated, and also the geoscientists are categorically saying it's not fracking. So please, I'm being a bit harsh on your first call, but it's not fracking, because what you say actually matters. That's all I've got to say.
All right,
Andy.
Appreciate that. Thanks for calling today, Mark. And here's Howard on Mannin Line. You're live with Lamara Craine, leader of the Green Party. Howard.
Good afternoon, Andy. Good afternoon, Lamara.
Hi, Howard.
We have met before, up amongst the trees out at St Mark's.
That was a while ago now. Beautiful day, though.
Yes, but it worked.
It did.
The question I want to ask is, what are the views with the Green Party as regards, starting from the beginning, when the UK were putting up wind turbines, heavily subsidised by the UK government, which is gradually being whittled away now. But when you read between the lines, the charges that were being made for electricity through the normal means, gas, coal or nuclear, were at a particular rate. But the companies who were putting up the wind turbines wanted a much higher guaranteed rate for the electricity. And this then gave them a healthy profit on it. Is there any concern that the Isle of Man government, the MUA, in their rush to put turbines up here on the island, are going to looking for subsidies from the Isle of Man government? And are they going to establish a rate which is much higher, and we already have the dearest electricity in Britain? It's just gone up to 31 pence a kilowatt. Are they going to guarantee a return figure for the MUA? Have you heard anything on those lines?
No, I haven't heard anything on those lines, and I guess that's something that, the people of the Isle of Man should be asking the MUA, especially ones, I guess, that are against the turbines being erected down south. So, but it seems like it makes sense, because they would want to make sure that the investment that they're making pays back to them. But I mean, there's nothing that I've heard of that would indicate that that's going to be the case here. And I don't necessarily think that they're rushing the installation of these turbines. It's been talked about for quite some time. Professor Curran released his report in 2019, I think. So, time's ticking on, and I know that 2026 is kind of a deadline with regards to our carbon budget. We're going to be past the amount of carbon emissions that the Isle of Man can afford to make sure we don't hit the 1.5 degrees C of warming.
Yes, but the point is, the Isle of Man, being an island, only has one connector cable, and we have a perfectly adequate power station, or I think it's three. There's one in Swalwyn Ramsey, one in Peel, and the main one in Douglas. And these turbines are not going to supply anywhere near the power that we need, because we're pulling in two different directions here. They're pushing and pushing to push the electric vehicles on the road, and more electrical equipment is going into houses. There's not going to be anywhere near the power generated, and plus the fact that the cost of it is going to be prohibitive, because of the charges that are wanting or will want to be paid back to recover, as you just said, their losses, in a sense, their business. It's a business concern. But if you're charging high rates for this green net zero, if you're charging high rates of that, then there's an awful lot of people going to move off the island with their businesses.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Just so categorically on the record, Lamara Craine, where does the Isle of Man Green Party stand with the wind turbines at Erie Stane in the south? For or against?
it would be for, because it aligns with our principles, and we do want to see renewables being installed on the island, and that's where we want to have our self-sufficiency from.
Okay, Lamara's with us through till 1. By the way, you may like to just put a note in your diary for next Tuesday, the 6th. We'll be talking about the wind farms and the process behind it. Lizzie Riley from Manx Utilities will be on Mannin Line, along with 2 members from Wardell Armstrong, the consultants that are looking at this new wind farm. Paul Evans and Ian Ramsbottom will be here from Wardell Armstrong, along with Lizzie Riley from Manx Utilities, next Tuesday.
Hello, this is Manx Olympic snowboard athlete Zoe Gillings-Brier. I want to wish Manx Radio a very happy 60th birthday.
At HSBC, we're here and here, so you can go here or just chill in your own space here. We're here for all your banking needs. Pop into your local branch or book an appointment online. HSBC, opening up a world of opportunity. HSBC Bank PLC Isle of Man branch is regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority. Visit the HSBC website for terms and eligibility requirements.
At Isle of Man Energy, we're excited to offer our customers the Alpha E-Tech efficient hybrid gas boiler and heat pump combination. This state-of-the-art hybrid boiler causes minimal disruption to your existing heating system, making it simple to upgrade. Priced from just £65 a month and with 6-year warranty as standard, which can be extended to 10 years, what are you waiting for? Register for a free consultation at isleofmanenergy.im.
Do you know a scrap man? 'Cause I've got scrap to clear. Cars in copper, brass and lead, and I need cash for beer.
What? You don't know a scrap man? Gastains of Vauxhall is the one for you. Gastains will take all scrap metal and is also licensed for dry cell and lead acid batteries. So don't delay. Ring 801 337 now.
So now we know a scrap man and all our scrap's been cleared. Ring 801 337, then have cash for beer. Call Costains today and get yourself a beer.
Having secured their first win of 2024 last weekend, can FC Isle of Man get the job done again when they return to NWCFL Premier Division action this weekend? The Ravens are back at the bowl once again this Saturday, with Skelmersdale United the latest to head to Manx Shores with a point to prove. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Skelmersdale United, kicking off at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Lamara Craine is in from the Green Party today. Eddie, you're live with Lamara Craine.
Cheers, thank you. I've just spent possibly 18 months doing studies and so forth and trying to find out as much as I can about wind turbines. And for the last, 3 or 4 weeks, I've been actually putting all them facts onto the radio. The facts are that you're the Green Party, you call yourself, but there is nothing whatsoever green about wind turbines. I think I've explained that you need 2 football fields a day cut down just to get the balsa wood. They're not recyclable. You're going to knacker up all the heathland to dig out and put concrete bases in. You name it, on and on. So the first question, if you can give us an answer to that, I've got 2 or 3 questions, but how can you call yourself green and then say you're going to go? You are for wind turbines?
So, well, I think maybe you need to spend some more time doing your research, because wind turbines are recyclable, and the fact is that they produce an energy source that doesn't produce emissions. There might be some emissions in the manufacturing of them and in the installation, but thereafter it stops. So you would have the same if you built a power plant, or you built something in the sea to drill gas. You would have carbon emissions created from all of that manufacturing process and the installation process. And then you would have more emissions thereafter, and continually. So the fact is that once the turbines are installed, then we get energy that doesn't produce any emissions whatsoever. And is reliable in the sense that it's not at the mercy of economic situations around the world. It's only dependent on the wind, which we have a lot of, by the way. It's always windy. And if it isn't windy, which is very rare, then we've got the potential to use solar. So I don't think you're right, and I think that that it's just not factually correct. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Next question, Eddie.
The next question is, if, for instance, you go ahead with this lunacy, you sounded very nervous about your answers there, but if you was to go ahead with this, the taxpayers of the Isle of Man would be paying out, if we get, like you say, we need self-sufficiency about them. What would happen if, like I have suggested, everybody in this particular area is going to fight this, and you'll end up taking them down again, right? With that possibility in mind, why would you want to spend £700 million of taxpayers' money for something that's not very reliable anyway? I disagree with what you said. So why would you do that?
Okay, well, that's more a question for Manx Utilities and the government. I mean, it just so happens that the Green Party happens to concur with that. So
yeah, but everybody's got the same consideration. We all have to think, yes, that is a possibility. Yeah. The third question is this. You're going along with this Green Party policy of net zero by 2050, is it? Something?
It'd be preferable if it was 2035.
2035, right.
Preferably.
Everywhere else in the world is opening up mines, oil wells, you name it, everywhere. And I don't know how many people have told you this. We breathe the same air and we get the same water in the sea as they do. If they pollute in the other side of the world, it eventually comes right round to us. So no matter what we do, we will never, ever get to this net zero. It's just impossible when the rest of the world is not even adhering to some of what you're suggesting. But we should go to alternatives, because wind turbines are not green. They are an alternative source of energy. Not a very reliable one like solar, but there are dozens others out there. So why on earth can the Green Party not go to some of these other possibilities?
Okay, well, actually, thanks, Eddie. That ties in with a note I've also had in. Nobody's mentioned thorium nuclear power as a green energy source. And these new mini nuclear power stations, basically the ones that power nuclear submarines, bringing those on land and having mini nuclear power stations.
Yeah, so there's a climate emergency. It's an emergency around the whole world. It's a health emergency. It's going to impact us all. And we are seeing the result of climate change right now with all of the storms that we've been having, the coastal erosion, the boats being cancelled, the extra rain, the droughts in summer, the wildfires. There are lots of issues, and the Isle of Man is going to really struggle if we continue down this path. The good news is that there's the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, which are lots of countries around the world who are deciding to make a change, and they are aiming for to reduce carbon emissions and to prevent the total collapse of the climate. And the Isle of Man Green Party supports that. We just look to those experts and we look at their findings, and we want that to be interpreted here. And all of the other governments around the world are doing the same. We are one of the third highest emitter of carbon emissions per capita as a country, which is crazy because it's only the UK and Russia that's above us. We actually emit more carbon per person than China. So we need to make it. We're only a small part of the world, yes we are, but we're still part of it. So we all need to be working on this issue, and we all need to be resolving it. So having that kind of negative attitude of, oh, you know what, we breathe the same air as everybody else, and if they're not doing anything, then we shouldn't. Well, they are, and we should be doing it too.
Okay, all right, thanks, Eddie. We got to move on. Lots of more people want to get on, but Michelle dropped a note in, and just to say much the same thing, that we talk about India and China, far more pollutant. And where do the figures come from, by the way, if we are the third highest in the world per head? Where do those figures come from?
I can send you the sources if you like. I think it's World Data, and there's another one as well. But it's available online. It's available on our website as well, where we've got our sources. So, and yes, there are many countries polluting, and they are trying to tackle their problems too. They're set up just as we were on an outdated system based on fossil fuels that's polluting the world. I mean, you just got to walk around Douglas and breathe in the car fumes and know that is not good for you. So we need to change it, and we need to stop kind of thinking that this is just an agenda when really we're just trying to make the world a better place and move forward. You know, there's children who were interviewed years ago and said, what will it be like, you know, in 2020 and all those other, you know, dates ahead in the future, and they thought it was going to be futuristic when really we're just stuck in the past. So we do need to move forward, and we need to make things better.
Nuclear power.
Nuclear power. So there are lots of benefits for nuclear power. Unfortunately, there's lots of negatives. Negatives are quite well known, I believe, so I'm not going to teach Granny how to suck eggs on that one. I think that for the Isle of Man, it wouldn't be worth investing in for the population. I believe that there's smaller reactors that they're looking at as well, but as far as I'm aware, it wouldn't suit the Isle of Man. I don't have any figures on it.
Well, they are billions. They're billions of pounds.
Yeah, they're super expensive.
It would be far more electricity than we could use, but we could export it as well. And also, just a question of other countries hitherto which had a green agenda, and suddenly, like Ireland, is going for offshore gas. They're going to their offshore gas reserves. And because of the moment, Norway, everybody seems to be drilling. If President Trump becomes president again, his mantra is drill, baby, drill. That's what they want to do. So in the face of everyone else reopening fossil fuel outlets, we being a tiny speck in the great spectrum of things, what does it benefit us?
Well, I guess I look at it like the government's going to do what the government's going to do, and we can only oppose things that we think aren't a great idea for the Isle of Man. And that's what we think. We don't think it's a great idea. We understand that there might be revenue generated, but we shouldn't be investing in that. We should be generating revenue from something that isn't going to damage the environment, isn't going to damage our health, isn't going to damage the climate, and stop pretending to ourselves that this is the future. Norway did it years ago, and they've moved away from it. They did take the money and the investment, but that was way before we were reaching this critical point. I mean, the world is 1.4 degrees C warmer than it used to be. We're right on that tipping point, and it's just ludicrous to continue staring in the face of of destruction and saying, yes, this is a great way to go. It isn't.
All right, Lamara Craine is here. She's the new Isle of Man Green Party leader. Text, email, call and WhatsApp and get in touch.
Hi, it's Connor Cummins here. Just want to wish Manx Radio a very happy 60th birthday.
Ride in to H&H Motorcycles.
Hello, I'm Nathan Harrison. For motorcycle sales, service, repairs, tyres, suspension including upgrades or full long-term restorations, choose the team that builds race-winning bikes. H&H Motorcycles on South Quay Industrial Estate, Douglas.
Job done at H&H Motorcycles. H&H Motorcycles. Your bike couldn't be in better hands.
Crossroads Isle of Man.
The Crossroads Manx Workshop helps islanders with disabilities and health conditions, providing paid employment, making a range of high-quality products, from benches and shelves to cabinets and tables. Our team also work on custom projects, such as engraving and company seals. Pop into our workshop in Douglas.
Crossroads Isle of Man.
Visit crossroadsiom.org.
When you need a fitting memorial or headstone for a loved one, contact Manx Memorials in Peel. This long-standing family-run Manx company offer a wide range of granite and marble headstones and memorials, along with an island-wide inscription and renovation service. Manx Memorials skilled professionals will take the time to help you choose a suitable memorial, and we're proud to say we'll beat other local quotes. Call 843 861 or email matthew@manxmemorials.co.uk.
With Ellen Vannin Fuels, home heating oil is made easy. With our free smart monitoring system, you'll never run out or have to think about ordering. Our online accounts and easy payment plans make it really simple to manage. Ellen Vannin Fuels can even help with new tanks, boilers and servicing. Combine all that with reliable, efficient deliveries and we've got it covered. Just call us on 844000. Ellen Vannin Fuels, making life easier.
Get the full story. Tune in to Manx Radio's newscast for in-depth interviews behind the headlines. Find the newscast now at manxradio.com or your usual podcast provider.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Lamara Craine. And hi, David, you're live with Lamara Craine.
Hi, Lamara. The first thing I was going to say to you is, how do you join the Green Party? Because I'm thinking of doing it, if you'll have me. That's the one big thing, or it could be a minus thing. But I just want any little views. Well, you're quite correct. It's to do with lobbying this government we've got. Is how can't local authorities get funding? But the Minister, Julie Edge, said the other day regarding the school down south, she could get funding from the Green Fund or the fund that's thing. 2 standards. It's amazing you can have 2 standards. Government can do this, but nobody else can do anything else. And the other thing I just want to ask too is, please lobby all the time, because there are organisations out there, not-for-profit, charities and whatever, who can't tap into the green funding because it's not permissible. Why can't somebody just change the mechanism to have funding done? And we can do something on the island. PV panels. I've got photovoltaic tubes on my garage. There's a bank at 20 producing hot water today. I'd love to have PV panels. And Andy, the final thing, it's annoying. The guy keeps ringing me from England to say to me, I can put PV panels into you for free or next to nothing. But when I say I'm in the Isle of Man, the answer's no.
Mm. Yeah, thanks very much for your question. If you would like to join, we'd love to have people that are like-minded and support our principles. So you can just visit our website, greenparty.im, and hit the Take Action page, and you'll be able to join.
How much does it cost?
It's a tenner for just the entire year, and a concessionary amount of £5 if you're like a student or pensioner or whatever else. If you want to email us, we can sort something out.
Okay.
And yeah, we'd love to have more members. We'd love to have more people on the committee as well, and more volunteers. So we're looking for people to join. We're looking for people to bring their passion and their ideas and their time and effort, really, because we've just got a couple of people in the party. We're a small group. We're trying to run it as best as we can, and I think that the more that we have on board, the better.
Okay, all right. Thanks, David.
Lovely. See you, bye.
Good to hear from you. If you want, I've just checked the website. There's an email address, committee@greenparty.im or membership@greenparty.im. And as Lamara said, it's greenparty.im if you want to get involved with the Green Party. And just get this straight then. Local authorities, all the local authorities around the Isle of Man, have no access to the Green Fund.
No, it's a real shame, because there was a couple of million set aside a year or two ago in the Green Fund for people to tap into if they wanted to invest in renewables or insulate a building and things like that. And I think that's really important that we do have that provision for housing, and I think that's the main thing that really the government should be looking at, because it's great having renewables, but really the cheapest bill is the one that you don't have to pay, because your house is so well insulated that you don't have to heat it. So upgrading all of these, all of the housing stock that we've got, and retrofitting, especially government housing, it's the first way, it's the first thing that we should be doing, as well as looking for renewables for local government buildings. And it's just a pity that basically they've set out this legislation, they've ticked these boxes, and then they've looked at our application for Ramsey Town Commissioners to have solar panels and said, no, it doesn't fit, we can help you do investigations. So it really does need to be looked at, and hopefully the fund will be continued, and will, because as far as I'm aware, I looked at it not so long ago, and not that much of the money had been spent. So how are people tapping into it, and how are people actually making use of it when the funds are still sitting there and it's not really happening? So that needs to be improved, definitely.
Okay, Hal. Hi, Hal. You're live with Lamara Craine.
How you doing, Lamara?
Hiya, you all right?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Good.
Could you just explain to me what CO2 is?
Carbon dioxide.
And
1 atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen.
That's correct,
Okay,
yeah.
very good. Anything else?
Yeah. Do you agree that CO2 is a plant food?
Did you say climate food?
No, I said a plant food.
Plant food? Yes, plants do use carbon dioxide, yeah. But anyway, I'm not gonna sit here and debate with you about the reality of climate change and scientists, blah blah blah, because I'm sorry, I don't know what your qualifications are, but 99% of scientists understand the climate. They understand climate change is real. So either get on board or go back to the dark ages.
In other words, the very thing that you should be discussing, you don't want to discuss because you won't.
Okay, so do you have a question, Hal?
Yeah, the question is that CO2 is a plant food. It's used by plants to grow. We eat plants. Farmers produce crops for it. Animals need the plant food to be there, otherwise they wouldn't have anything to eat. We survive simply because of CO2. And you're making out like that it's some sort of poison in the air, which is dangerous, which we must get rid of. I don't understand that argument.
Okay,
so I'm really sorry you don't understand it, but what you've just basically illustrated is kind of a primary school level of how carbon works and how plants work, but luckily, there are people that are far more qualified than that and understand it. And carbon dioxide basically creates an atmosphere where the globe is warming, and it's far more technical than what you've just described. It's a pity that that maybe you haven't seen the information that's out there, but it is available, and I'd encourage you to have a look into it further.
Okay, all right, thanks for that. Thanks, Hal. Good to hear from you. Alan, you're live with Lamara Craine.
Oh, hello there.
Hiya.
Qualifications. I have a degree in geography. My wife has a degree in geography and is a fellow of the Royal Geographical Society. So would you say that I'm fairly well qualified to speak on the subject?
I mean, I don't know what your expertise is in climate change, but I guess you're you're quite well educated.
Oh, yeah, I am, yeah. What I'm concerned about is the fact that when you talk about us being the third biggest polluter in the world, for example, the reason they come to those conclusions, amongst one of the reasons, is the number of cars we have and vehicles we have per capita on this island. That's one of the major reasons we are a big polluter, in theory. But we're not really, because I know someone who has 10 motorcycles and 3 cars, but he only rides one at a time. He has them, but he doesn't ride them. Yeah?
Okay,
go on. That's one of the main reasons. The other thing is, where I live in Ramsey, in Maccles, 10,000 years ago, there was a half kilometre thick sheet of ice over my property. So climate change is nothing new at all. In the 1970s, when I was a student, I had Professor this and Doctor that lecturing me saying by the year 2000, there will be no oil. It's nonsense. They were talking about a hole in the ozone layer. Nonsense. It's gone. Finished. You're dealing with companies who were peddling offshore wind, as, for example, Ørsted are, as a means to generate green electricity. But what they're not telling you is that Ørsted lost 58% of its share value last year because it couldn't make any money out of wind. And our government's in bed with these guys, and they're going to spend hundreds of millions of pounds of our money and bankrupt the island. Anything we do to alleviate climate change, it's the equivalent of, imagine a football, and that's the planet Earth. The Isle of Man is a grain of sand stuck to that football. you can't do anything about it. Even if what you were doing actually was changing things, it's going to be such a small effect. It's just not worth doing, and will bankrupt the economy.
Okay, all right, Alan. We appreciate that point. I was going to come to that because several people have sent messages in, Lamara, in terms of catastrophizing things and just the worst possible scenario, and saying things like, the wildfires, this and the floods and the storms and what have you, and trying to frighten people into following your philosophy. Do you get that?
Yeah, it is frightening, but it's a reality. The amount of storms that we've had this year in comparison to previous, there's been, they've released data about how the island is warming. I mean, these are just facts, and as time carries on, people will see, because it is changing. So one thing you mentioned about the weather out at your house above Ramsey, it is weather, that's not climate, so you've got to take things as a whole. But the fact that extreme weather events will happen is part of climate change. So and also you mentioned about cars. So cars is only the fourth emitter. The first emitter is gas and oil heating, and the second is electricity generation, and they're way higher. So
okay, all right, we appreciate that. Thanks for being with us today. Out of time. Will you come back later on this year? Tell us more about the Green Party if you want to get it. When's the AGM, by the way?
So we'll be having an AGM in autumn, and that's when the committee members will be elected. So if anybody would like to come forward and join us, then please get in touch.
Okay, Andrew Jessup at Bredon, Andrew Bentley and Falk Horning in Douglas, Lamara Craine in Ramsey. If you want more information, you can get in touch by going to greenparty.im. Agree or not agree? It's a conversation that we have to have. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones. Back tomorrow with an open line on Mannin Line.
WINT